The Seven Deadly Sins universe is something of a monster, spanning manga collections, TV series, spin-offs, games, and films. Sure, it's not One Piece or Bleach, but it's still a substantial mountain to climb if you want to truly understand what's going on. Adding to the lore's existing complexity is Netmarble's gacha consolidation, The Seven Deadly Sins Origin, a time-bending mystery that plays with fan expectations, delivering an original story to unpick one quest at a time. Origin seems like a compelling character action game at first, backed up by vibrant, series-appropriate visuals. Alas, like many of the lower-tier attempts at this saturated genre, its repetitive gameplay and resource-riddled submenus provide far too much friction as you get into the meat of the dreaded gacha mid-game. Set in a version of the Kingdom of Britannia, Origin centers around Prince Tristan of Lyoness and Tiore. One day, the duo uncover a dangerous cavern that, in addition to serving as a handy tutorial area, causes the world around them to shift. With extratemporal events popping up all over the place and a strange, nefarious infection sending chills through the world, your job is to tie up as many loose ends as you can to get the realm back on track. A process replete with the usual perspective puzzles and combat encounters. As a fan of the anime who has since lost their spark for the series, this clever twist on the lore reminded me of what I loved about the Seven Deadly Sins to begin with. Its lovable range of characters, pulling off stylish moves, framed by beautiful fantasy backdrops. Though Origin's nostalgic charm offensive is only effective at maintaining this mirage for so long. As you crest your first hill in the glorious land of Britannia and feast your eyes on the world ahead, it's easy to get distracted. Questions like, is that a treasure chest behind that rock? And what do you think is hiding in that giant bird's nest in the sky flood the mind and elicit a kind of excitement only an open-world landscape can provide. It's a pity then that these questions slowly give way to mechanical answers that require sustained investment and optimization to enjoy. And despite the visual smokescreen, you soon realize how cold the world feels to actually explore. This is in part due to a lack of technical polish that plagues Origin's loot-covered terrain. Rabbits shimmy in unison like professional backing dancers, and textures are blurry up close, particularly when you press up against them in search of dodgy objective markers and inventory-bolstering goodies. Moment-to-moment character animations aren't convincing either, and Prince Tristan's climbing stance is dubious at best, a far cry from the body contortions Link pulls off in Breath of the Wild. While none of these problems are deal-breakers in isolation, they do stack up to put a damper on the adventure overall, the creaking edges of the game creating disconnection from the story, which is genuinely interesting. In the end, it seemed like the only way to feel a sense of achievement was by clearing out objectives as fast as I could and following the golden path whenever it was presented. Standout locations like the castle grounds of the Kingdom of Lionel and the pastoral glades that surround it help mitigate the sense of frustration somewhat, by providing carefully recreated spaces to wander through. Ultimately though, I found myself hungry for a more considered gacha experience, like Genshin Impact. Thankfully, you unlock movement abilities early on, which also helps to distract you from your disappointment. I was pleased to see open-world essentials like the ability to climb and swim, as well as a Da Vinci-esque wood glider I could deploy to whiz through the sky. There is one more addition to your movement tool belt too, and that's the pig steed fans of the show will recognize as the loyal, garbage-eating scamp, Hawk. Alongside allowing you to speed down roads and across Dragonbone graveyards, the chunky swine's brand of adorable humor helps to pave a path through the game with light banter, as you uncover more of its mysteries. With the only barrier being a surprisingly generous stamina bar, the traversal skills allow you to cheese your way across Britannia as soon as you cut loose from the tutorial. Don't get me wrong, there are some progression-shaped roadblocks that require you to complete certain missions and acquire items to progress into new areas. But at the very least, I was glad to see Netmarble provided these skills up front, so I could experiment even so. As you stretch your legs, you'll uncover glowing warp points that reveal the map's busy topology and allow you to jump between central points as you please. Initially, these additional goalposts prompted me to get creative, sneaking past fiends or flying across peaks to reveal more of the world. Still, once you've pushed through the limited pool of self-inflicted challenges, Origin seems more concerned with keeping you playing by rewarding you with repetitive busy work, rather than providing any kind of meaningful progression. Inevitably, as a result, I found myself losing interest in Prince Tristan's plight, fueled only by the serotonin boosts that came from seeing the mission complete banner when wrapping up another dull task. Origin's saving grace is its familiar, tried-and-tested combat system, which meets the bar set in the genre. On top of a jump, dash, and dodge, each character has a normal attack, a special attack, and a skill attack. with the latter two dealing more damage but requiring you to wait for them to cool down before you can trigger them again. On top of that, each hero also wields a unique ultimate move, whose heightened damage arrives courtesy of well-animated character-dependent sequences. It's a bright, flashy game in motion, yet remains approachable thanks to a simple control scheme. Unfortunately, the enemies don't hold up their end of the depth bargain. They aren't nearly as reactive as you may hope, operating more like sentinels than living, breathing bad guys. Say you're strolling down a hill and get spotted by a sentient shrub. They'll do nothing but chase you within their designated zone of operation and wallop away until the screen turns black. I was by no means expecting the intricate back and forth of a series like God of War here, but the bar is so low in gacha games that it feels egregious not to try something different. I would have preferred more cohesive fights that took advantage of Origin's supernatural effects and mechanical additions. Something like Monster Hunter's part-breaking brawls, to really differentiate it from every other character action gacha game out there. This issue feels particularly flagrant during boss battles, which were rarely complicated enough to make me break a sweat, let alone elicit any kind of heart-pounding emotion. Simply put, you'll chase and hack away at your target regardless of their imposing stature, navigating a barely perilous arena to unseat their health bar. The enemy designs do much of the heavy lifting here, making reference to the funky creatures or characters you find in the source material. Even so, it feels like a huge waste to provide such a gratifying combat system when there's no reason to actually master it, so long as button mashing to the next checkpoint gets the job done. At first, your team of heroes consists only of Tristan and Tiore, though it soon grows to include up to 4 members thanks to the looming gacha systems that hand you additional characters throughout the Odyssey. As you play, you'll earn a currency called Star Memory, which can be forked over to pull randomized gear and new companions. It's a recognizable loop that, like much of Origin, doesn't stray far from the norm in pricing or style. And despite my own affinity for the genre and a rose-tinted lens on the source material, it still stings to glance at the shop tab and see so many convoluted systems propagating through the mid to late game, reducing my favorite characters and their journeys into marketing tools. On the upside, you aren't required to spend money to succeed, though notably, you aren't provided with much premium currency through organic gameplay either. Despite spending over 50 hours grinding, I barely earned enough to pull the gacha more than a handful of times. And even then, my pulls were more often than not total duds. That's the ball game at the end of the day, but I was at least hoping for some kind of glitzy fanfare to accompany my hard work, or a means to demonstrate how these pulls could enliven my moment-to-moment experience. Instead, all I got was a pop-up menu from the shop prompting me to enter my details so I could roll the dice again. The Seven Deadly Sins Origin is a striking gacha adventure that, despite its compelling anime backbone, struggles to sustain interest across a tedious runtime. While a smattering of bugs gets in the way of gameplay, it's the by-the-book gacha system and monotonous missions that do most of the damage here. Charming dialogue and flashy combat help to mitigate the frustration to some degree, but even if you are overtly keen on the Seven Deadly Sins IP, this attempt to consolidate its best ideas has resulted in a gacha experience that could be easily mistaken for another peer in the genre. For more, check out our review for Super Meat Boy 3D or Marathon, and for everything else, stick with IGN.